So every year I try the Nanowrimo challenge, where you try to write a 50,000 word novel in a month. And I've done it twice. I've succeeded. I have written 50,000 words in the span of November, but I'd never done it with nonfiction. The first years I'd done it were with fictional pieces, where I just pulled stuff out of my brain until I finished the story and it somehow made it to the end. I'm not really sure how. I don't think they're any good. I haven't bothered to look back at them because they were just a product of I need to hit 1,600 words a day every single day, and I have run out of ideas by like day 10. But this year I had a distinct challenge for myself because I wanted to try a little writing project I've been meaning to do, but never fully gotten around to, which was to do a like novel size length because it's the novel month about the like 4 years of high school, which I think were the most like turbulent and the most writable years of my life, for lack of a better description of that. So I decided to try it, and it went very poorly, but not for the reasons you'd think. This is a pause so I can read. We're cutting back in. So I've been trying to write this kind of story for a while. I have a lot of like essays in a similar vein where it's like taking specific events and fleshing them out into nonfiction essays, but I've never dedicated a set of time to doing the whole thing. And it started off about as well as most of these novel writing things start, is you have that initial spark where you're like, yes, I can do this, I can crush this. And you're just full of creative energy, everything's flowing, the words are just coming and coming and coming. And it was great. If I had kept that energy up for the entire time, I probably would have succeeded on day one. But I am not humanly capable of writing 50,000 words in a day. I got about 6 or 7 in, and then I could not sit still. I was like, I need to go move. My body is going to hurt. But that was probably the peak of this whole thing because I just was shot above the limit, and somehow I was like, this might be possible. I can do this. I can do this. And then it all quickly fell very, very, very apart. Because what I realized was that I had enough for the essays. The ones that I'd already written, I had those ideas and I'd explored them probably as much as I ever will. But the connecting details were just not there. Like I thought in the beginning that it would be an interesting story, that there'd be a lot of depth to these 4 years, because it's 4 years of time when I'm a teenager who just doesn't know what to do with himself and is just lonely and depressed the entire time. But then I quickly realized that most of the time in between that is just nothing. Like I wasn't always just the bad part that I can write oozes and oozes and oozes of words about. It was just kind of like filler, where I would get through the meaty pieces where I had like the big emotional moments that would like make the climax of some stories. But then in between there was like I did a thing with a club or I went on a trip that like doesn't really have a point to it. It's just me writing to write, which I think was the trap I was trying to avoid. I was trying to not have everything be just filler, but after a point it became like shooting darts at a memory board where I was like, what do I remember today? Let's write about that. And it just wasn't interesting after a while. I got the good stuff out. There are some pockets of good in all of it where it's like, dang, that's a good, just like essay there. And I think overall the net positive of this was that I got those little pieces that I can be like, this is actually worth something else exploring, or just like an essay or something. But a lot of it was like, I don't need to write about this. This is not interesting to me. I'm not saying anything bigger. I'm just observing and reflecting on a time that I like half remember, which is really where issue 2 came in, was that this is 5, 6 years ago. I don't remember most of it. So when I was like trying to write events, I'd be like, da da da, I remember this, and then be like, I don't remember what exactly happened here because I just forgot. Like, it's time passed and it doesn't matter. I've moved on, which is probably what I should have expected given that it was so far in the past, but it makes for some good lulls in a story where I go, I don't remember any of this. Because, like most things, you remember the emotionally resonant ones, the ones that made you feel a very strong emotion. And most of these things did not. I was just going to school, doing work, and none of it was really impactful. So I think I milked all the memories I could, but I also got about halfway through, and then we hit the first major stopping point, which was that I had run out of ideas and I was now circling in on myself because I had run out of things to do, which mainly looked like I would sit down, like, end of the day, just trying to cram in to get to the work goal for the day, to keep myself on pace. And then I would get there and I'd just be like, what am I doing? Like, why am I writing this? And I would just spend the entire word count for that day being like, what am I doing here? Why does any of this matter? Like, I have exhausted this well. I need to move on, but I still have half of a month left and I need to keep writing and writing and writing. Otherwise, I failed the challenge and I don't want to fail the challenge. But I don't see anywhere else for it to go. I just see myself walking in circles for the rest of the month. And it was like, just kind of whatever. I was writing the same thing, like, what am I doing this? What is this for? Why did I think this was going to be a good idea? Very just introspective, but also just kind of down at all, where it's like, fiction was the good way to do this. You can make stuff up, but now you're dealing with real life. And with real life, you have to actually, like, draw from memory. And I have a pretty bad memory of that whole area, apparently, but I didn't know that. I thought that it would just write and then the memories would come flowing in. They would just take over and over and over and seep through my life and do all that, and it would become this nice tale. And instead, I just got neurotic and was like, this is pointless. What am I doing? I'm just writing about writing about writing about writing until I reached an infinite spiral. And then I just stopped doing that one day. I just said, this needs to end because there's no point to it. I'm just sitting there doing nothing. None of it is productive. I'm not making any meaningful progress towards a goal. I could be writing scripts for things I actually want to, like, make videos on or put a blog post about, or actual essays that I could, like, submit to a publisher instead of just, like, rambling for 1,600 words a day to be like, I finished my goal, ta-da, I did it. So then the next 2 days I spent doing that. I wrote scripts for things. I wrote part of the script for this that I have almost entirely abandoned because I figured it was better to just stream of consciousness through this because I wanted to try and see how it looked. But it lasted about 2 days and then I just didn't have anything left. I was like, I have the ideas for scripts that also dried up, and then I got busy with work because I work and I have to conserve energy for that because I'm not an extroverted person and I have to work in customer service with people who are not the greatest. But I didn't actually fail because of any of these reasons. I've said all this, they were factors. And on a normal month, I probably would have just sucked it up and gritted it out and just found something to hold me over till the end of the month. But the real reason I actually failed was the dumb reason, but one that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. That's it. I'm done. We're not getting anywhere, and I have given up goodbye. I'm heading out. And it was just that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out. It wasn't a grand reason. It was just a video game I really liked, and I spent the last like week and a half playing straight, just whenever I have free time. That was the reason. I just wanted to play a video game. I'm sorry, I cheated. I gave up. But I learned the lesson that this idea that I had that I could make a novel out of my 4 years of high school, not gonna happen. It'll be essays at best, or a arc of the life that I live, but it won't ever be its own novel. There's not enough there that I remember, or that's really interesting enough to say. So yeah, that's how I failed Nanowrimo. I feel like I should feel more torn up about it, but I'm having a blast. Ever since that game came out, I have just been top of the world, just playing the game all day. I'm having a great time. So is it bad that I failed and I kind of just gave up? Yeah, but I'm going to take this momentary happiness where I'm just on top of the world playing this buggy, broken game that is just giving me everything I want and more. But to you that finished it, congrats. You did it. Good for you. I did not. But that's just how it be sometimes.